Stanford CS grads, you're not finding a job. That's a real telling signal. 10 years ago, if you go back to 2015, if you could build 100 crore consumer brand in India, everybody said, whoa,
Right.
that's huge. Every successful company has 5 near-death moments. Entry-level jobs just are getting automated away, and that's just going to accelerate. The next 10, 20 years, I'm going to dedicate to India to be the most innovative nation in the world. Before 2030, we will have our first 100 billion public market cap. If you ever meet a VC that tells you what your vision should be as a founder, please don't partner with that VC. You can't be average anymore. Your second decade will be literally 10x better than your first decade.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the Living Pod by Saurabh. Today's guest, I am very excited to interact with. He's someone who's been building and backing up amazing startups, amazing ideas, and he himself is a global citizen. So when my team suggested that can we get this guest on podcast, my eyes just lit up. But I was very nervous because he generally don't come to podcasts. He hate podcasts, but he consumes lots of podcasts. When we were interacting with him and my team was preparing for this podcast, we were literally so excited. We had so many ideas to discuss. We have so many themes to discuss. But then we thought, let's discuss what we believe in, which is global mobility. He's someone who personified global mobility. He's coming from a war-torn country. At that time, he moved to best of universities, worked with best of the people, best of the largest organization, and then he got into investment. And when you need to interact with such people, there's so much to learn. So I am pretty excited. On that note, let's jump on to meet and interact with Rajan. So Rajan, first of all, thank you, for being here. And I know, you hate podcasts. Now everyone knows that you hate podcasts, but you still tune into 2-3 podcasts every day, and I will not ask why you hate podcast, because it probably, you can use more time to meet more founders and short capsule meetings. But first of all, thank you for so much, and you asked me.
I have to clarify. I don't hate podcasts. I love listening to podcasts. I just, I speak at so many events and all of that.
You don't want to be repetitive.
Like doing them. Yeah, I don't particularly like doing them.
Right.
But I love listening to them. I do listen to many a day, actually.
Right. What kind of podcast you be listening now, or what podcast did you listen in the morning?
I listen to a lot of 20 VC. I like Harry Stebbing's podcast. I mean, it's a really quite range of things. Sometimes I'll find something on YouTube. Late last night, I was listening to Bill Gurley was doing something super interesting with Ferris on his new book. I don't know if they read his new book, but I want to get his new book for my daughter, who's actually in college.
Oh.
So anyway, so that's just a clarification I thought I'd.
No, I mean, when you asked me why I wanted to be on podcast, because see, the theme of this podcast is live, learn, achieve. And you know it, right? You're one of the achiever, right? And so many young, kids who tune into this, or so many parents who want their kids to be as successful as, Rajan, who have I'll come to that, you're not left any tick box, at least in most of the people who, when they plan their career, right from MIT, Stanford, Dell, Microsoft, Google, Sequoia, Peak 15, anything which is left in your, your mind to tick box, or any regret in your career so far?
No regrets, but as they say, the best is yet to come. So you have to live life always thinking that, the best of what you can do is probably not shown up yet. But look, there are so many interesting things I haven't done. I didn't. I didn't work for Apple. By the way, I started my career at McKinsey. So
okay.
I was in consulting in Chicago. But look, I didn't get a chance to work with Steve Jobs at Apple. I haven't worked at Tesla. I haven't done that. I didn't start OpenAI. So I think if you look at the world, there's so many interesting things that you could be doing. But the good thing is, in my current role over the last 6 years, since I joined Sequoia, and which is now Peak 15, I've had an opportunity to work with some incredible founders in India, right? And we can talk more about that, but I think that's the next 10, 20 years I'm going to dedicate to working with incredible founders and hopefully, playing a very small part in trying to get India to be the most innovative nation in the world. So
many questions to ask. So many questions. I know I don't have much time with you, but, I'll try to, utilize that. You're an operator turned investor. Why didn't you start anything?
Actually, I have launched companies but not full time. So while I was at Google, I launched Sri Lanka's first venture capital fund with a very close friend of mine called Praji. So Sri Lanka's only venture fund is a firm that I started, and then a bunch of other things. But I don't know. Actually, I just haven't had the urge to.
Is it your speed and like you get bored, because your
No, I don't
energy
get
is.
bored.
See, when I was reading you and always you've been so kind. You're always some sharing some hacks or some learning with the founder group like us. You talk about long term, and you are so much in present, and you were so much into speed, agility, and you're always up to, like, you're part of TIE, you're part of IMAI, so many institutions, almost everything. You work with government. Where that energy coming in, and when you're doing so much, where is that, like, why you talk about long term, but you've been moving left and center every 4, 5, 10 years, is
Yeah.
it you need to drive too much out of your life?
No. Actually, no. That now I understand what you're saying. Look, so I mean, I think this new generation will have 5 times as many roles as I've had. So I graduated from Stanford with a master's, and then I went to McKinsey. That was the first job I had. I was at McKinsey for 11 years, so I was a partner in the Chicago office. Then I went to Dell to work for Michael Dell, and I was at Dell for 5 years. I'd say the shortest stint I've had is Microsoft. I was at Microsoft for 2 years. I led the Microsoft India business. I was at Google for 8 years, and peak Sequoia and now peak 15 has been over 6 years. So actually most things I've done for 5, 10
4,
years,
5, 10
right?
years,
Yeah, 5, 10 years. So that I think in today's world is quite
Yeah,
uncommon.
it's rare,
Most
right?
people sort of
Yeah.
try to move, and and what I've tried to do is once I get into something, I really get into it, and then I'll keep doing it for as long as I'm really having a great time, and then at some point you may you sort of think that it's time to do something else.
But what is that moment, which make you?
You
just start-
you just can't predict. You can't predict. Sometimes it's sometimes it just becomes monotonous, where you've just been doing the same thing for a long time. Sometimes things happening around you that you think are really interesting, so you want to go try something new. But it's at the end of the day, look, I have a simple thing, which is if you're having a great time and you really love it and you're really into it, just keep doing it, because if you're really into it, right, like you just got to be in that zone and you just got to keep doing it. Now there are going to be times when you think that, especially as an entrepreneur, right, where you have to have 5 at 5 near, we've done the analysis, every successful company has 5 near death moments. I don't know how many have you had, like university living, company, as a company, not you, but as a company.
Yeah. So we are just entering our 10th year.
Yeah, right. So how many near death moments in the 10
That's
years?
a good question. I'll get back to you, but
Right.
I guess more than 5.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, we are
So
profited
you're
right from day one.
slightly above average.
I don't know. We are
But,
profited right from day one.
yeah.
But still, if you ask me,
Like those days,
how's your
about to run out of cash.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah,
It's about usually it's about, especially for a bootstrap company, it's like you run out of cash.
2 to 3 times
But if
for
you're a
sure.
funded company,
Yeah.
right? Like you could be competitors launched with 100 times more capital. You got like this jiggle, massive lawsuit. Could be lots of things. But for me, it's really been very simple. Once I get into it, I'm like really, really into it. And then I'll keep doing it for as long as I'm really having a great time, and and then when I'm not, at some point, something wake up one day and you're like,
is it this probably mindset of you, like you are long term operator,
Yeah.
right? But do you fear that probably what if like you have mentioned many times, like any company is like first decade, second decade, and third decade, like at
Yeah.
least 20, 30 years.
second decade, by the way, of a startup is always the best decade.
I'm hoping the same.
Yeah,
right?
like next year, starting
Yeah.
next year will be starting
Yeah.
your second
Yeah.
decade. I'm telling you, your second decade will be literally 10x better than your first decade,
Right.
because you have strong product market fit, or you have a team in place.
Yeah. Your network is going for you.
And also, like you and your co-founder, right? Like you are so much more able to now run a company, build a company, and so on. Brands compound, everything compounds basically.
Right. So is it that unknowing fear, or the fact that if I start something, I need to stick around for 10, 20, 15 years?
No, I mean, in terms of
because
why
you have
haven't-
worked for 10 years,
No,
15 years, any which way.
If the question is why have I not started my own company, I just haven't had the urge. Like my younger brother is an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. Then my dad passed away when I was very young. My mom then took over the business. She ran the business. Most of my friends are entrepreneurs. I mean, I went to MIT. Most of my classmates became entrepreneurs. At Stanford, I think half my friends are entrepreneurs. I mean, I spend most of my time with entrepreneurs. My close friends are entrepreneurs, not just in tech, by the way. In design, in art, in construction, manufacturing. So it's just that. Look, I mean, I don't want to do something just because everybody else is doing it, or I don't want to do something because it's like yeah. I mean, at some point.
So where is the clarity coming in? It's right from beginning.
No, it's not a clarity. I mean, it's just like things that I like to do and things that I haven't had an urge if I said, look, wow, I found like some really
and especially when you
insight.
are part of so many companies, you're in the ecosystem, when you are like you're eating ideas for breakfast, you're sleeping ideas, sleeping over ideas.
Yeah, but they're like but the thing is like when as a VC, we are investing in companies, right? In fact, I was telling a founder we were speaking to yesterday, I said, look, if you ever meet a VC that tells you what your vision should be as a founder, please don't partner with that VC. It's your company.
Totally
it's your vision.
Totally
As a VC, I should back, we should subscribe to your vision of what the world should look like, not our vision of what the world should look like for your business, right? So,
how do you think AI going to change VC investment or VC world? What all tools you are using?
Yeah, so today, if you look at it, it's a good question. We use a lot of it for research, right? Like what used to take hours or days now is minutes, right? If you look at deep research, if you look at Gemini, OpenAI. So I'd say that's probably one area where we use a lot of it. For our legal team, by the way, is building their own tools. The other day we had Mohit Abraham who runs our legal team, and Arjun and a bunch of our team members. I mean, they are really using, because in every function, right? Yeah. Like you think about every function, okay? Whether it's legal, whether it's human capital, talent, we call our talent HR team human capital. And then in the investment team, look, if you think about investing, right, there's sourcing where you're looking for interesting companies.
Yeah.
So we use a lot of data science and AI for sourcing, like how do we identify interesting companies. Could be like, like how do you identify the next big open source breakout company, or how do you identify companies on e-commerce that are like growing faster, we have different signals that we use. So that's on sourcing. On evaluation, I would say a lot of it is for research. I'd say that is an area where...
So what are those 3 to 5 tools which you are using? Like you're already productive, you're already very efficient.
I use it for research. I mean,
but
I'm using...
Any tools?
I use Gemini a lot. I mean, I'm an ex-Google, right? So,
right.
And
I know your love for Sam.
No, I also use OpenAI. I use ChatGPT a fair bit.
But did that question pinch you? The way he replied that you will not able to do compete them on model.
No, I mean, look, everybody.
But that was very
No, it's okay. I mean, look, I think everybody in the world has a point of view, right? The good thing is time. So time really gives us all the answers.
I got the answer.
And I'm a big fan of OpenAI. In fact, we hosted 60 of our founders at the OpenAI office in February earlier this year, and the OpenAI team was terrific. Sam came in and spent some time with our founders. So, look, I think all these. I mean, look, the world needs many many AI labs, and it's a great thing. No, so I'm a big fan. I use it a lot for research. Because I'm always trying to understand new topics.
But can we rely on that with like, I know now models have evolved a lot. It's
I mean, for what we do, I mean, it's not like it's not life or death. I'm trying to figure out a market size. It's life or death, right? Right. So, but the summarization,
the wrong numbers or wrong thesis can also
I mean, yeah, like yesterday I did a search. Like startup funding, by countries. There was some news article that came out that said India in 2025 is the third highest startup funding. US, US,
China.
Actually, it said US, UK, and India. I thought that wasn't correct, so I went and did a Gemini search, and then Gemini actually said China. But then I used ChatGPT. So there are inconsistencies because at the end of the day, it's all getting its.
Are you not using any multi-model wherein like same question you check on Gemini, ChatGPT, or
no? Our team does, but like generally the kind of questions I'm asking, it's not. I don't need a multi-model answer, right?
What kind of question you asking?
No, I'm usually asking. I'm trying to do evaluations of companies and markets or sizes or I mean, I'm just trying to
how you evaluate.
Like companies? Yesterday, I did a because yesterday I did a search on what are the best TTS models, right? Text to speech models,
right?
And and then you do what are the best speech text models, and it'll give you it says global best is X and the India's best is Y and so on and so forth. The stuff that would have taken a
How
long
are you
time.
evaluating companies? You know, I
Sorry?
mean, lots of my founder friends, including me, you know,
Yeah.
how you evaluate founder and companies? Is it theme? Is it time? Is it founder? Is it like, I know in search, it's more about team. It's more about that idea.
Yeah, so
because-
it depends on the stage, right? So at seed stage, so peak 15 seed. At seed stage, externally we call it surge, which is we invest in companies and then we take founders through sort of a founder academy, if you will. At seed stage, because the company is very early, we over-index on the team and then try to make sure that the market is large enough where you can build a large company. At Series A, it's team market, but also there's enough data to say whether you have product market fit or not. So there's a big focus on product market fit. At growth stage, I would say it's all of the before, like team market, product market fit, but also then you're looking at, is the economic engine visible, right? Like, is this a company that, you could take public in 5, 6, 7 years? Not like, because at seed, you have a 10-year view, 10, 12-year view. At venture, maybe you have a 7, 8, 9-year view, and then, growth, you have a 5, 6-year view, right? Where you're saying, look, is this a company that can get to scale in 5, 6, 7 years and then go public? Which means you have to have like an economic, what we call an economic engine, a P&L that's beginning to show up, good gross margins, like good unit economics, CAC to LTV, if it's sort of a consumer business, NDR if it's sort of a SaaS type company or an AI type company, those sorts of things. So depending on the stage, you're looking at different sort of things. But look, at the end of the day, especially when we invest early, right, we're really trying to over-index on the founders and also on the market. I think that is an important thing that a lot of early stage founders don't realize is, look, as a, especially if you're talking to a larger firm, larger funds, right, like us or like other, Axel, Lightspeed, etc. The question, even if you're going to invest, let's say 15 crores, okay, in a seed round, or 10 crores in a seed round, or 5 crores in a seed round, we are asking this question of, can this be 1,000 crore revenue company not in 3 or 4 years, but 7, 8, 9 years, right? And that is where a lot of companies, either the founders are not able to articulate or we are not able to see it. And usually, because we are not able to keep in mind, right, venture capital, like, because, we know what we know, right? Like, I've always said that most investors, including us, we underestimate how big India TAMs are going to be. Okay, so example of this is, 10 years ago, if you go back to 2015, if you could build 100 crore consumer brand in India, everybody said, whoa, that's huge. Today, 100 crore is expected. Every day I'm, my
within
team,
6 months, within 2 years,
will
people are
come,
achieving.
in a couple of years you get to 100 crores and team will come and say, look, here's a 100 crore brand, and I'm like, okay, so today, like 1,000 crores, you can say 1,000 crore, whoa, 1,000 crore brand, right? Brand, not commerce, but brand.
Right.
My view is, 10 years from now, so 2035, 1,000 crores will be like 100 crores today. 1,000 crores is like, okay, so not 10,000 crores, right? So we always underestimate, how big these TAMs get in India, right? So I mean, in our last quarter, so not this cohort, last quarter, Surge 10, we had a company that was the fastest company to get to 100 crores of revenue. They were not the fastest. They were the first company while in Surge. They crossed 100 crores of revenue run rate. And you know what the company is called? The Health Factory. You know what they make? Zero Meta bread.
Yes.
And they sell on quick commerce. Like a bread company.
But
first search company, our cohort is 40% AI companies.
And if someone will imagine that, there will be a market for bread so big, no one will.
Yeah, right. And by the way, that was in March. They just crossed 200 crore run rate.
Wow.
But now they've launched like Rusk and lots of other products. But my point is, like, that's just an example of, like, we have a company in this current cohort of Surge, right? It's called Areto, and they make kids shoes. I don't know. Do you all have kids? Like, if you
I have a 5-year daughter.
5-year-old. So you should look for Areto. Like, it's expandable. So kids between the age of 1 to 10,
they grow faster.
Every year, like, they outgrow their shoes like 3 times.
I heard this somewhere.
Yeah, so it's like kids' shoes, right? It's an industrial designer from Pune. Satyajit is fantastic. And
but doesn't it counter, that it will not get a repeat business?
No, so that's the whole point, right? Like, as an Indian, like most Indian,
we all value for money,
right? Value for money, right? Yeah. And by the way, they're really cool. In fact, yesterday I was talking to one of my colleagues in Bangalore. He was one of my friends who's an investment banker, and he has like a 2-year-old, right? And the 2-year-old only wears Areto and Crocs. So I said, okay, now you need to get them off Crocs and only on Areto, right? But see, the thing is, look, how many kids do we have? So many kids, okay? And this is a global product.
Yeah.
It's not,
And
doesn't have to be
on
only
kids,
India.
you don't mind spending.
Yeah, I mean,
that-
kids do. And also like, from 1 to 10, no? Like LTV to CAC is like,
Yeah.
I mean, right. So even if you buy a pair of shoes once a year, you're going to buy 10 pairs of shoes till you're 10.
So Beena, whatever little I get to know you, so how you purchase things, whether it's your car, your watch, or
So I don't
anything.
own a car, by the way. I don't own a car.
Great, because
I
that's a
don't.
liability in Delhi at least.
No, it's not
you know?
that. It's just that like I
You're more utility guy. You're like,
Yeah, because I don't want to like.
So what is your passion? Like what drives you? I mean, at this age and at stage, mostly it's cars, whiskeys.
Oh no, I don't own a car. I don't
or
drink whiskey.
watches.
I don't own a watch.
So what is driving you? How are you keeping yourself sane and that?
I love learning. I love meeting interesting people. I love technology. I love innovation. 2 days ago, she wanted to go to the mall. It was Sant Kunj Mall, right? So she was shopping, and both my wife, 3 of us went. My wife and daughter, they wanted to shop there, and I spent 2 hours walking around. So I started in Emporio, and then I walked to the Promenade, and then I went to Ambiance Mall, and I was just observing
the
right?
patterns.
Like our malls are so crowded. So crowded.
But they're not buying.
No, but they are buying.
They're
That's
buying?
Yeah, they're buying. So, and then I saw Oreto. Oreto actually had a pop-up.
Okay.
Oreto is top of mind because I just saw them and I called the founder.
And I must
saw
say
the
that
pop-up.
you're the great investor, not just because of the money, but the kind you support your brands. Like I have been seeing so many of
Yeah,
you.
tweet about that.
You don't mind talking
By the
about
way,
them.
this is another company.
One
we
more
invested.
portfolio.
This is 10XU.
I will miss you.
10XU. This is 10XU. It's a footwear. They're in the current cohort of search. Sachin Tendulkar is a co-founder.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is like a new sport, like a.
This is a new thing happening,
sports
that
brand.
every celebrity need an operator
Yeah.
to build
so,
that.
So anyway, so that's what I like doing. I mean, I was walking around for 2 hours.
So you're a sneakerhead?
I shop.
Not even.
I'm not a
sneakerhead.
sneakerhead. No, I actually I've only worn. Before we invested in this company, I wore the same brand for about 5 years, and now I'm wearing only this brand for hopefully the next God, how many years. But yeah, so to your question, what do I like doing? I mean, I was walking around for 2 hours. I was just observing people. I was looking at brands. I went into stores. I look at stuff, and I went into the Uniqlo store. I was like so impressed. They have 3 floors. What a brand! Like it was packed. It was just packed. So many people. So anyway, and then after that, I talked to my founder, Reto founder. I said, look, this pop-up. Then I took pictures, by the way. Chanel had a pop-up. I mean, I didn't know Chanel had pop-ups, right? It's a luxury brand. I mean, like Chanel pop-up in like, and by the way, they were not even in the Emporio Mall. Sorry, this is for people who are listening, like whatever. You can cut this one out, but I was quite intrigued. It was in the Promenade. Okay, so you have Emporio, luxury, then you have Promenade, and then you have Ambiance. And interestingly, Uniqlo is in Ambiance, the third mall, right? But Chanel pop-up. So anyway, I took like a video. I went around the Chanel pop-up and I sent it to one of my founders who's in offline retail. And then Hamleys had a pop-up with Harry Potter. Skillmatics is a search company. It's a toy company. This is like it's scaled up. It's like 500 crores of revenue. Very profitable.
Like a Bangalore base.
Bombay base.
Bombay base.
They sell mostly internationally, but they also have started selling in India. So I sent that to Dwanil, who's the Skillmatics founder. Because it's like, wow, so this is what I like doing. It's very nerdy and very geeky, but I love it.
No,
I'd much rather do that.
I can relate to it a lot. You were like this right from like when you were in 20s, 30s, or after 40s, you like becoming more nerdy and like you achieve a certain money level, right? So now it's like curiosity, learning.
No, I've always been
always
very
been
curious.
like this?
Yeah, I've always been very curious. I mean, but like, of course, like I wasn't. I mean, when I was dating my wife, I had to actually be with her. I had to go with her to all the shops. I couldn't wander off by myself. Now my daughter's there, so the two of them can do the shopping. Otherwise, I can't.
So you mentioned then I guess Maya, right?
Yeah.
She's your daughter. So she's in Stanford, right? You yourself a product of study abroad, right?
Yeah.
And this is my theme, right? Global mobility.
We should probably talk about your.
No. I mean, we can talk anything, right? I also, I mean, people ask why I'm doing podcast. This is the best way to learn from the best, right? So, but like you are a product of study abroad. I'm sure lots of your friends, family in your times, right? They're not everyone got chance to go abroad. And you earned that, position, and probably you also fortunate one who probably your family are able to, sponsor it or support it. Do you think a few of your friends or family who couldn't make it or who couldn't go abroad to study, probably their trajectory of learning and trajectory of doing well in life. Did you observe something like on this?
No,
box?
I don't think so. Look, firstly, my story is my personal story is very specific. I went abroad not because I wanted to, because I had to. I'm Sri Lankan. I was born and raised in Colombo. My family is mixed ethnic heritage. My father was Tamil. Anandan is a Tamil name. My ancestors come from Tamil Nadu. My mother is Sinhalese, which is a majority in the country, and we had a 30-year civil war. Right. So, so when I was a teenager, I mean, the country was raging in war, right? And because I'm Sri Lankan Tamil, Tamils, every Tamil who could leave the country left the country. So the reason I left the country and then my brother also left the country a few years later is because of that. We didn't leave because we wanted to leave Sri Lanka. In fact, I had never been to the US, I'd never been to the UK. The only reason I went to MIT, I had no idea what MIT was, by the way.
But how did you make it? Like you just walked, of course.
No, I mean I applied, but I applied.
But till the time you didn't apply,
there was no university living and like all these.
Right.
When I went to MIT, I mean there was, I don't know, there must have been, but like I had a very good counselor. I happened to go to, by the way, so my 11th and 12th grade, I went to an international school. My mom couldn't. I lost my dad before that. My mom couldn't afford to send me to the international school. I went there. In fact, my first year, my uncle helped us, and then second year, my uncle would have helped us anyway, but I was fortunate to get a scholarship. And I had a really good counselor, Mr. Tendufla, who was, I went to it was called the Colombo International School. Now the same principal owns a school called the Moyer School. By the way, the Moyer School in Sri Lanka has a better placement record than I think any school in South Asia except for the Dhirubhai Ambani School. It's crazy. Every year they send people to Harvard, Stanford, MIT. It's just nuts. It's this principal
it's the ecosystem plus.
Moyer, it's like it's Mrs. Moyer, right, who's the principal of the school, who now owns the school. But anyway, so I basically went to MIT. I had to get out of the country because I was Sri Lankan Tamil, right, and my mom was very keen that I leave because it was just not safe. Okay. So I basically, I had no idea. I got into the UK, top school in the UK, but they didn't give me a scholarship, so I couldn't go. And then I got into.
And this was in 80s.
In the late 80s. And then I got into MIT, and the top US schools actually gave financial aid. So it wasn't scholarships, but you paid financial aid and then you paid back.
Right.
So my entire MIT. So I had never been to the US. I didn't know what MIT was, or what it meant to go to MIT. But I just had to get out. So my story was very simple. I just left because that's where I got in, and that's my story. So it wasn't like some grand plan of trying to go to, I just had to get out. So I think that's an important thing where, what's that impetus to go right now? Now, of course, my daughter, she had a choice. She could have gone to school.
Yeah, gone anywhere.
I don't know whether she went to the American Embassy school, so she definitely couldn't have gone to the IITs because it's a different system.
Right.
But I mean, she had a choice of where she could have gone to, and she decided to. I think that's important. That I think a lot of people who they just need to decide what they want.
But
to
have
do.
you seen? Have you observed? You are an observing person, right?
So to answer your question, look, it's very interesting, right? India has 120 unicorns. I think less than 5 of these unicorns were founded by people who left the country.
Yeah. Do you think because of
Dipendra?
Yeah.
Let's look at India.
Let's count them.
India has 7 companies that are over 10 billion public market cap. Startups, venture funded startups that have gone public, right? Zomato, no.
Right.
Zomato was India.
Dipendra is right. India.
Sanjeev Bikhchandani, India.
Of course. Yeah.
I think Deep Kalra may have studied outside. I think Deep did. Deep worked for a while, I think, outside. I don't know. You should do that. You should do your research.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So make my trip.
Yeah.
Yashish at Polysuperza, I think probably did, because Yashish was in the UK when he started the company.
I
don't know whether he studied
He studied
here or
from Mayo, I believe, or one of the.
Yeah, but you should do the.
Yeah, that will be good.
Harsha at Swiggy, I don't think. Harsha at Swiggy.
I don't know about Harsha.
No, he's started a company out of college. So that's 5. Lalit didn't go to school outside. Grow, right? So I think then there's 7th company, I can't remember which one, but 6 or 7 companies that are over 10 billion public market cap.
Not
venture funded startups, no, maybe 1. Deep, you should check. I don't know.
I believe he had not gone. I believe. I have done my second podcast was with him.
Yeah, okay.
But this didn't come up.
Yeah, it didn't come up, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
so you should. So basically, like India's most valuable companies, Sachin and Bini. No,
I don't know that.
No, Sachin and Bini. No, I mean they basically went to IIT and then they joined Amazon and then started a company, right? And in India, I mean the late 80s, right? 1991 was when liberalization happened. Before that, I mean there was no future, right? Like. And then liberalization happened and things started changing, and then towards late 90s is when all these companies got founded that we're talking about, right? They started being founded, right? InfoEdge was late 90s. Paytm is another example, right? Late 90s. Deep Kalra started his company in 2000.
99, yeah.
Actually, Deep also, I don't think.
I don't think
he was here.
Yeah.
I am.
30 years
I am. Grad, and then he worked at Citibank or something and started his company, right? Actually, so there you go. It's like 100% of the top
six, seven.
Actually, if you look at 10, so you look at private companies, you have Flipkart, and then you can look at a bunch of others between 5 and 10 billion market cap. Nykaa, no. Paytm, no.
Right.
All Indian, right? Like, so basically, you can add it all up, and I think that has changed, right? So then the question becomes. Now that being said, there's a lot of value, right, to getting a global education, to getting global exposure, because I think you just are able to
You're
operate
more global citizen.
No, you can also like operate in different cultures. Right. It's a great learning experience. But then you have to ask yourself why. Like I went to the US because I had
no other
to.
Option, yeah.
I had to. I mean, like
Agreed.
I was in a war-torn country, right? I think as an Indian today, that is not the case, right? You can have a very successful career here. You can build companies here, and so on and so forth. So then the question becomes, why am I going? Okay, you could say I'm going to. Because I want to get a broader education, I want to be in a world-class education, more exposure, get to know different cultures. But you could also say, look, I mean, I really want to work somewhere else, right? Like, we were just talking about this, like Japan.
Yeah.
I have one of my wife's nephews, automotive engineer. I mean, for the last 5 years, he's been obsessed with going to Japan. Now he's in Japan. He's learning Japanese. He's like studying automotive engineering.
Culture,
No, and like, he really wants to be in Japan. He's learning Japanese. I mean, he's going to settle down there. He's not coming back. Okay. So you could also say like, maybe they're like Germany, like all these European countries. Like I was with the German ambassador, right? They want to try to attract a large number of, because all these economies, right? They have aging populations, and they also realize that they want to attract top tier talent. So I think as a student, you should ask yourself like, why are you doing this? Right? Because I think what used to be the reason, which is, if you go back 30 years, it was very difficult to imagine being very successful, having a great career in India.
Right.
That has completely changed.
But did you sit with your daughter, and when she was planning whether she would study in India, or abroad or US specifically, So what were those parameters or factors you were exploring? I'm sure.
Yeah. So I mean, when we first moved, we didn't think we were going to be here for 20 years. This is our 20th year, 2025, 20 years in India. So actually now I've spent more time in India than I have in any other country. Because I left Sri Lanka when I was 16.
But what is your citizenship status?
Sri Lankan citizen.
Sri Lankan?
But I have a US green card and an Indian OCI. So, but I've spent more time in India than I have in any other country. So
and contribute so much to Indian economy.
Oh, well,
not trying to impress here, but lots of respect for that.
No, I've loved it. So I think with my daughter, because we didn't think we were going to be in India for so long, we had to go to the American. We put her in the American embassy school. So I think when you're in the international school, like the Indian option, like you can't.
Curriculum,
right? Curriculum is different, right? Yeah. So and then for her, look, she did think about. She was very fascinated with Oxford and Cambridge because I took her for some. She went for some conference at Oxford, I think. But she wanted to have the flexibility, where I think in the US system, you don't have to declare upfront. Right?
What you want to
you're
pursue,
going to do, right? So she has
more open.
She has a very strong interest in climate and environmental sciences and so on. But she didn't know whether that was exactly what she wanted to do.
So she needed flexibility.
She wanted the flexibility. So if you ask me like what was the reason she picked the US over the UK, it was really flexibility. We don't have a connection to
UK much,
Australia or Europe. I mean, there are all these schools, right? But a lot of it is also familiarity, right?
Right. You have
like I went to undergrad and grad
US,
school. My wife was Indian, but grew up in the US and then did undergrad and grad school in the US. So we are very familiar with the schools there. And then when she was young, she would go to these schools and because we'd go for reunions,
Right,
and so
right,
she
right.
knew that
So that culture
system. So she knew
and
that
you also
system.
must be a bit more comfortable towards US,
Not
compared
not
to
necessarily.
no?
Look, if she had really wanted to go to, I don't know, like
Any
some
other
school in
country.
Spain.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know anything about the European
yeah,
schools, right?
yeah.
And I think because we had this strong affiliation and association, right, with the schools in the US, that was more natural for her. But I think if we didn't, then we didn't do a lot of research saying what are the top schools in Europe, right? I mean, we knew Oxford and Cambridge, and she had been to this conference. She was like, "Oh, that's really interesting." So it was.
But as a global citizen, if I say so, and a parent to a young daughter, and you have studied all across and have so much of data points, right? So what should be the right way, for our audience, which are students, parents, education counselors, global mobility expert. So there's a school of thought, decide on course, then university, then country, and then probably XYZ, and then there's a school of thought that decide on a destination, and then decide on the whatever career you want to pursue, and decide on the top 10 or top 5 schools, and then go for it.
Yeah.
What is your view?
So I think the first thing, I do think this question today is very relevant, which is, why would you want to study outside of India, right? Because as I said, the opportunity is set. I mean, I know so many kids who are coming back to work here because partly, if you went to the US,
the
it's very hard
economy is
to.
great,
And also, US, they've made it very hard, right, to kind of, and entry-level jobs are being impacted everywhere around the world because of AI and so on and so forth, even in computer science, right? So I think that's the first thing you have to really, why? Why are you? Because I think what used to be the case, which is the opportunity set was much better outside, is not necessarily.
Is it not comfortable?
No, it's good.
Sorry
It's
about
good.
that.
It's good. No, it's good. That's not necessarily the case anymore. Okay, so now you have to have other reasons for doing it. It could still be economic.
But demand supply. There are like 40 million students get enrolled or get graduated every year in India.
Yeah.
Not everyone can make it to IIT-IIMs. That is just one person, right?
Yeah.
And if you compare with fee structure of Ashokas and Amity's and XYZ.
How is it?
It's if you're going for a UK, and you're going for a, let's say, mid-tier university, it's almost same.
Oh wow, I did not know that.
Yeah, and in UK you study for 1 year. If you club that, probably UK will be cheaper and you can work there. So lots of middle class or probably.
Yeah, so I think that's an important, right, where, they're saying exactly, right, I'm out of date, I don't know any of this data, right? So I think just asking yourself, I do think if you're going, unless you're, you happen to be very fortunate and you can come back to a family business or whatever, I do think if you're going to spend the money, you should pick a country where your odds of getting work.
Yeah,
right? Because I do think, even if you think about this whole global exposure, working in different cultures, college is one thing, but the real hits the road when you start working, right? Because then you really have to adapt to cultures and so on and so forth. So in that context, I would not pick a subject. I think today's era, saying I'm going to study a subject and therefore I'm going to pick a country and a university.
And then you're very like your nephew, who wanted to study.
Yeah, unless you're very focused, right? He's obsessed
very
with
clear
automotive
that automobile and
he's obsessed with automotive and he's obsessed with Japan. I mean, he has been for 5 years, since he was in 8th grade or something. If you're like that, please go to Japan. He didn't want. He didn't apply anywhere. He didn't want to go anywhere.
Got his
else.
blinkers and he's very clear.
Japan, he wants to do automotive engineering, right? So if you're like that, great. By the way, that is fantastic. I mean, that is a blessing.
Right.
If you're that focused a kid, I mean, that's a blessing, right? Most kids are not that focused. I do think so I would pick. I think it's a good idea to pick a country. Actually, I would say until recently, there was no question the best country in the world to go to because of opportunities, not because of the education, but because of opportunities, right?
The economy is so big that
economy is very big and so on and so forth, right? So, but now things are different now. But again, these things change, right, with political regimes.
Right. Do you think it's not transitional? And it's
I'm hoping it's transitional. I mean, I'm a big fan, so I owe a lot of what I have to education in the country. So I'm hoping it's transitional, but we don't know, right?
Because last year was the only year, 24-25, wherein there were elections in 40 countries at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for the last 15 years, last 10 years building this. So that's why we always been diversifying. That we know every 4 years there will be a new destination which will
Yeah.
be like top 1, top 2, but the other 3, 4 will not like fall in 44, 90% what happened in US and Canada, right? But we believe that this is transitional because of the demand and supply. In India, whatever you're saying is absolutely the present is India, the future is India, but the skills, even if you want to study, there are no seats. Even the progressive government.
Yeah,
like
that's an important point. Not having adequate capacity for high quality education. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
That's a really good, because only so many people can go to the IITs,
Yeah,
right?
because now
Right, like IIT only has so many, 2,000 seats.
just
or
one
something,
person,
right?
yeah.
2,000 seats,
15,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, actually, one interesting thing with AI to think about, if I was, and I talk to my daughter about this sometimes, is like with AI, I think you have to be really, really good at whatever you do.
Yeah.
Right? I think being an average coder is like not a good
Gone,
thing
done,
anymore,
yeah,
right?
thing of the past.
Same thing with average
Yeah.
anything. Being an average analyst, being an average, you can't be average anymore. So I think the this idea that what do you like, you have to have some passion for it, and also you have
The
to have
domain
some,
knowledge is very
and you have to have
important.
some skill for it. Right? You won't have it initially, but like, what is it that you can really be top at, like really, really good at, and then maybe picking a school where you can explore that. Obviously the
That
US
domain,
is better at that.
yeah.
You're exploring it, right? And then, but you really want to be good at. I think that's going to become very important because the reality is, look,
Everything is replicated.
one
now.
thing is for sure, okay? Entry level, graduating students' ability to find jobs is just going to get harder and harder and harder.
Yeah.
Because entry level jobs just are getting automated away, right?
Right.
With AI, and that's just going to accelerate. So I think being very thoughtful about that, right? Like, so for instance, if you're going to go into computer science, you better be really good. And you better be really good at, not only really
Just
good at
don't
computer
pursue
science.
anything for heck of it.
No, it used to
because-
be, right? If you want a
Yeah.
job, you just get into computer
Yeah.
science,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And you got a job.
Right.
But I think yesterday or 2 days ago, there was an article in New York Times that Stanford grads are not able to get jobs. Stanford CS grads, okay? I mean, whoa.
Never heard of, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
never
like,
heard of, yeah.
That's like a big deal, Stanford CS grads, you're not finding a job. I mean, like, okay, that's a real telling signal of. So you want to be, even at Stanford, you have to be top of your game.
So it's getting even more competitive.
Much more competitive, right? Much more competitive.
So are you saying domain knowledge? Like wherever you have an interest, because passion is very
Yeah, I think
hype.
where you have an interest, you have to be really, really
Really
good.
deep in it.
Yeah, you have to be really, really good, and you have to. I think internships become a lot more important. Real world experience becomes a lot more important. I think just the idea that you go into a CS program. I mean, let's just take Stanford, okay? The idea that you go to Stanford, you do a 4-year CS program, you graduate, and you have a great job waiting for you.
Yeah.
That's
Not
over.
anymore. Not anymore.
That's over.
Yeah.
Now, let's start there. Now, what does that mean if you're not at a Stanford or an MIT or an Harvard CS? You're going to a CS in the 50th school.
But other good thing is, is that even if you're not at Stanford, Harvard, or Oxford, but if you pick your domain and you're really good at it, and you have an interest, or probably you have developed your interest.
Yeah. So let's
it's
now.
so easy
Yeah,
to
exactly.
build.
And so now let's take a student that is going to school number 50 in the US. Okay, but that student has been hacking, building code, has been working on very interesting projects, has been
Right.
competing in competitions, has done internships at really interesting companies, has actually built and launched their own apps, is a master of using Cursor,
Right.
and is a
Replicate
practical
and
engineer,
emergent, yeah.
right? Who actually knows how to build software and ship software using Cursor or a Claude Code or
Someone who have like been building it up.
yeah,
or
like
they're
meaning
resourceful.
so now, okay, now when you've differentiated yourself, it's not about the CS degree. I know how to build stuff. I know how to ship stuff.
Right.
I worked at a
you
bunch
don't
of these
need a
companies.
stamp of any.
Yeah,
degree.
like for instance, like last week we met these 3 young hackers, like cybersecurity hackers. They went to their academic
average,
their
yeah.
academic pedigree.
Yeah.
I'd say was okay, but
yeah.
but man, are they good hackers? Now they're building their own company, right? But these 3 will get a job like that, literally like 10-second
they
jobs.
generate more
10-second
jobs,
jobs
yeah.
because they hack Perplexity,
Oh.
that good. So
Okay.
so like that is the example like you want to be, right? Like so you want to somehow
Very
like
interesting.
how do you differentiate? Basically, what's happening is how do you differentiate yourself? right? In a world where AI increasingly will do lots of things. AI won't do everything, but AI will.
What will
certainly
it
be
not want to?
Huh?
What it want to? Because it seems that everything is going to AI. Even I was reading something.
Like, by the way, what you're doing, not your day job,
Yeah.
but like what you're doing right now.
Yeah,
Being a podcaster,
Podcaster.
being an entertainer. You know, we were in Dubai last weekend. You know, we had a
There were
we had a
robots?
found, you know, we had a team. We took our team to Dubai, our Peak 15 team. Right, we had. Anyway, we went to see an act. I think entertainers.
They will not be.
No, I mean,
not
like,
be-
you still want to go, right? Like, we were there and there were 5,000 people in this stadium. I think
But tell me one thing: the live performance, yes, but most of us are consuming digitally.
no, but
right.
by the way, I think we're going to see the first. I think the world only has a few billionaires, right? Like Shahrukh Khan is a billionaire. You know, there are a few others, right? Like
Right,
Michael Jordan's a
right,
billionaire, whatever,
right.
right? Like, I think we're going to see many more
creative,
billionaires
who
who
are
are
creative.
artists, who are creative, who are sports people. Because,
Because they-
live,
now they can-
like, I
yeah.
think so, yeah, right? Look, I mean, the fastest $1 billion, before the AI era, I don't know whether you know this, but the fastest $1 billion new startups were these IPL franchises. They went for like, boom.
Right. Because of distribution and
No,
because
not
of
that,
the-
yeah, because people like
yeah,
sport,
experience,
right?
experience economics for real.
Yeah, now of course you can't be an okay soccer player. You have to be a really good soccer player, right? So I think entertainers, comedians, right? Like these, I mean,
Yeah,
these
stand-up
things,
comedy is
yeah,
real,
like stand-up
right?
comedy,
I
right?
mean,
Like,
I would-
like, do I want to listen to a robot? Like, maybe.
Maybe.
Once the robot really looks human and the robot's really, really funny, maybe. But yeah, so it's an interesting.
What's
time.
your take on what's happening in US? Without being sounding controversial, but because you have
No, I
studied
think,
US.
look, I mean, the US is going through a very different period today, right? And I mean, the only thing is, I continue to be very, very bullish on the US because I think
Still?
it's,
With
yeah, absolutely.
36,
No, I mean, I
37?
think, look, these cycles will come and go and change and so on and so forth. But I'm like very bullish. Look,
Under Mr. Trump regime?
yeah, I mean, look, like, let's look at this year, okay? I mean, I just saw the data. There was $310 billion invested in startups. Do you know how much went into US startups? 260 billion. I mean, like,
People
look,
don't have
where's
the
the
option,
innovation?
no? Yeah.
No, but that the point is-
Innovations and the market is there.
Yeah, I mean, like, look,
It's like a loop. Like you have capital, you have big market.
and you have
That's where the
innovation.
innovation happening. That's
Yeah,
where because the innovation
talent,
happening.
right?
Yeah.
So I do think, look, I do think this whole thing about talent and the best talent going to the US,
Yeah.
I think that has to continue. I mean, there are few things for US to continue, right? Like they have to be able to attract the best talent in the world, right? So I think they'll go through some cycles, but they'll end up at that again, which is they have to be able to do that. I mean, if you ask me, like, what could change the US trajectory? Not, I mean, look, for the next 10 years, US is going to do what they're doing, right? When you have 260 billion of startup funding out of 300 billion, okay? I mean, like, it's a crazy number.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out of 320,
Almost 80%, more than 80%.
India is 10 to 14 billion,
Yeah.
okay? 260 billion, okay? So, and this is without, by the way, this doesn't include the 500 billion.
Then why we're
this doesn't
saying-
include the 100 billion that's going
Then
into.
why we are saying the founder should come and build here?
I'm not saying that. I'm just
I
saying
mean, not you,
the data.
but-
I'm
but
just
yeah.
saying the data shows that
Because
Indian
it's so
startups.
hard to. I mean, you've been, and I'm all about Indian, and I love what we're
Yeah.
building, right? But there were time, and I still believe that the kind of efforts and hard work we are doing in India, and despite and in spite of many other things, right?
Yeah.
It's love, right? It's amazing, but any sane person, when you know that capital is easily available
Yeah.
or comparatively easily available, and the market is big enough, so why don't founder go to US and build for the US economy, and then probably
No, so I look. The short answer is it's not one or the other, right? 40% of new seed-funded startups in India are building for the world,
Yeah.
and a lot of those founders are moving.
Moving.
As long as they can move. Okay. It's also immigration is. I mean, they can
Right.
get. You can still get O1
Yeah.
visas
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can move and all that. So that's still happening, right? But look, the reality is when our economy. By the way, all those 6 or 7 companies we talked about.
they
that
are
are
Indian consumption.
Indian consumption
totally.
companies, sorry.
Yeah.
Fintech or commerce, right? Or right, like all of them. Make my trip, travel.
Yeah. Yeah. Swiggy. Mostly it's
they're all
all
no,
India,
100%.
yeah, 100%.
All of them.
Yeah,
All of them are India consumption stories. Okay.
Interesting.
And this is with India at a 4 trillion economy. You can imagine what happens when
8
India is 7 and 8
million,
trillion.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, before 2030, we will have our first 100 billion public market cap.
Is
in
it?
India. Of course. Of course we will, right? Flipkart will go public over the next couple of years. Zomato will continue to go from strength to strength, right? Like, of course we will. I mean, there's no question we will have our first 100 billion market cap
Out of these
public.
6, 7, we should invest in all 6, 7.
That is your call. I don't give public market advice. Or please don't listen to anybody who give public market advice.
Of course, disclaimer, right?
Yeah, huge disclaimers. No, I mean, I just said there will be. I didn't say which one.
It makes
right?
sense also.
I don't know which one.
See, the good thing about that's why I follow you so much. You have so many data points,
Yeah.
and the data points are so compelling that now it becomes no-brainer not to do that.
I'll give you an interesting data point, okay? 2019, India only had 2 venture-funded startups that were public with over 2 billion of public market cap, okay? So venture-funded startups that are public, and then you cut off and say 2 billion public market cap, there were only 2 in India. Make My Trip and InfoEdge.
Right.
Okay? There was 0 above 10 billion. So now we are 6, this was 2019.
So within 6 years, we have...
Beginning of 2020, let's just say beginning of 2020, pre-COVID, okay, beginning of 2020. We are 5 years later, okay, 5 years later, 6 years later, because the end of 2025. 6 years later, we have 6 or 7, so let's count them actually. Eternal, Make My Trip, InfoEdge, Policy Bazaar, Swiggy, Grow.
Yeah.
6, okay. 6 companies that are over 10 billion market cap, and Eternal is at 30 billion market cap, right? And by the way, some of these go between 8 and 10, 11 billion. So I don't know today's market cap. Maybe when you air this, when you air this, maybe like Policy Bazaar is at 9
we'll
billion
put that
whatever.
disclaimer.
No, what I'm saying is like people like whatever.
Range of 8 to
whatever, like 8 to 12 billion or whatever, right? But what's also interesting is there are 35 companies now between 1 and 10 billion market cap that are venture funded. Okay? That is a big number. So this is in 6 years, that is the change that we've seen. I'm not talking about unicorns, I'm talking about publicly traded companies. Okay, now you could argue over publicly traded companies, they're still over, but like public investors are pretty, they're like, that's for real, that's for real, right? When you go public, that's a real company, that's a real company, okay? Of course, like some of them will see their market caps, some of them will see their market caps go up. So now that is what has happened in 6 years, 2019, let's call it beginning of 2020 to end of 2025. Then you look at the next 5 years in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2030, you will have the first 100 billion public market cap company. But we could have 20 to 25
such companies.
No, between over 10 billion. Okay, I mean, you're talking about 25 companies with 1 lakh crore market cap. Because now we're already at 90 exchange rate, right? It's a matter of time. So 10 billion, right? You're talking about, and then you could have hundreds of public companies that are, today there are 120 unicorns, okay? We could actually have, I don't know whether it's 2030, maybe it's 2032 or 2033, but we could have 100 public
listed unicorns.
So GDP per capita crossing $4,000. After that, everything will grow much faster. Yeah, it will grow much faster. Right. Like e-commerce, which is growing at 15-20% now. Like except for, if you set aside quick commerce, which is growing very fast, look at e-commerce, right? E-commerce is growing at like 15-20% in India today, right? That growth rate will double. So it's hard for people to imagine, the bigger you get, the faster you grow. You should tell your team this.
Right.
The bigger you get, the faster you grow. Right? That in consumer consumption-faced industries will start happening towards the end of the decade.
What's your view on global mobility and especially accommodation as a sector? This is personally, I probably can cut that. But
global mobility?
And within that, accommodation as a segment. Because lots of investors and lots of people question that this is not big enough TAM. And in my head,
so I think, we were talking about this before, right? Like, I think your approach now of targeting the US market for students and looking at residential for local students, I think that's a giant market. I think you should now.
This is what we have.
This is not for the Indian audience, but as a company strategy,
right.
I think that if there's a business to be built there, that can be a very large business, right? I think for student global, for student accommodation, you're going to have these headwinds, right? These different markets are going to go through these different. Right. So you're constantly looking for how is the check? You're constantly moving the puck.
Right.
It's hard to build a business that way, right?
In last 8-10 years, we have done that. Now we realize that these are 4-5 economies or destinations which gonna be resilience in spite of geopolitical risk, because now we have a penetration in the local domestic market.
Yeah.
But agree, it's not an easy business.
Like Japan.
Yeah.
You should have a Japanese business.
Yeah. But
German business.
All these new markets will take 3 to 5 years to build, because interestingly, where you have demand, it's hard to get supply. Where you get supply, it's hard to get demand.
Right.
So we need to balance that out. So we have done that in UK and Ireland. Now we are doing in Australia. US panning out well, but it's going to take a couple of more years. When we said yes,
Yeah.
We are on that track to 1,000 crores.
So for Indian students who want to study abroad, what advice would you give them today, given what you're seeing around the world?
So I mean,
Like which countries are, like if you said, like which countries are most popular today, which subjects are most popular today, like what are the top 3 things you would tell? So let's say I have a,
I guess
let's say I'm a student. Okay.
I guess I did a wrong thing by asking him to ask me. So yeah. So see, first of all, I generally, though I'm in this business, I always ask that not everyone needs to go abroad.
Yeah,
It's
like we
not
talked about
mandate.
that,
There's
right.
no status symbol.
Right.
There's no, ho gaya bhi vilayat and
Yeah.
travel. But if you believe you're looking for a subject, so go for a subject. But at the same time, always look for 3 to 5 years from now. If you are going to study now, by the time you will graduate.
So you would say index on the subject first?
on the subject and destination.
Okay.
And then
And would you pick the subject and then pick the destination?
It's varies. So if you ask me, probably someone like me who is very clear that I want to learn economics, so I will pick a subject. Then I will pick a subject in a
So
destination.
let's say if you want to study economics,
Yeah.
where would you recommend people?
So for
to go?
economics, probably UK or US.
Okay.
Because I get exposure and get a economic.
Why would you
enough.
pick Australia?
If I want to go and settle,
Interesting.
if I because another
Australia's immigration is lighter.
It's stronger. It's very stringent. But if you're good at it, the path to settle there and to get an ROI is better.
Interesting. Oh, interesting.
Right? If you're going to UK in short term, UK is great. But over a long term, medium long term, if you're looking to settle there or look for a
Is
work
it harder?
there, it's hard.
Harder to get a job, harder to settle.
Economy is not that great at this point in UK.
So let's say if you take the index of I want to move and I want to find a job and settle there, what would be the top 3 countries today? I know it changes over time.
Today, for next 3 to 5 years,
Yeah.
let's say. So I will.
So basically, you have to say if I'm going today, I have at least 4 years of study.
Yeah.
Or if I'm going for grad school, maybe it's 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Whatever.
So let's
2
say
to
3
4
to 5
years.
years.
Let's say, yeah.
3 to
Let's say
5
3 to
years.
5 years. Yeah.
So if I'm at 2025, I'm entering 2026, and I have probably 2 years to graduate and look for a job.
Like masters, right? You're going
Masters.
for.
Then probably I look for Australia or Germany.
Germany, interesting.
Yeah. And if I'm looking for even closer to India, but become a more global citizen, Dubai.
Dubai.
It's a small market.
Dubai has universities.
Yeah.
Like which ones?
All the good universities off-site are in Dubai.
Really?
Yeah. So
yeah, actually, you're right. One of my Sri Lankan friends son wants to go to NYU in Abu Dhabi.
in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. How
So
about that?
lots of
NYU in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi and
By the way, do you get the same NYU degree?
it get the same degree, but of course you won't get the same environment and the
No, I know,
overall-
but like
yeah,
it's an
that.
NYU
It's
degree.
NYU degree. It's their offshoot. It's
their own campus?
campuses.
Wow.
So all the TNE coming in India, you will get the same degree what you get in UK or in Australia. So that's
in Abu Dhabi.
in Abu Dhabi.
Huh.
Yeah.
You pay the same fees or lower?
Fees will be, I bet, a bit lower. Because of dirham or probably UAE and per se US, but the fees is lower. But if you compare, of course, you will not get the same campus feel. And someone going to NYU.
No, but they still have a campus, right?
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi.
It's their own campus.
Okay.
And a big campus.
Oh, okay.
Right. So similarly, Heriot-Watt, University of Birmingham, Aston University, lots of there are 30, 35. We are doing
Universities in
UAE, in Dubai,
Oh,
in
wow.
Abu Dhabi. That's called transnational.
So you would pick basically Australia, Germany, and UAE in that order?
For next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
And then depending on the course. If I'm into healthcare, into probably into automobile, then probably Germany. If I'm into service industry, and I want to have a balanced out life, then Australia, because we have a medium to long term path to.
And Australia, you're saying it's still possible to get a job, and if you do well.
Yeah. In fact, Australia very close economy. If you say so, right? At 6.
This is fascinating.
It's at 6. You still have to look out for things which will be open, right? I was talking to someone in the morning. The cost of operation for even accommodation is higher.
Where?
In Australia, because that's only 25 million.
Right.
Students. Overall,
But do they have jobs? They have open jobs?
They have. If you are good at it, you have decent jobs. If you are in
Because they also have an aging population.
yes, and if you have a cat, they don't have a population.
What about places like Japan and Korea? They're not open yet?
So, if I'm looking for 5 to 7 years, then probably Japan and Korea can be a good, destination. Universal, of course, US. UK have a different,
What about like other economies like France and
so France, so yesterday-
Scandinavia, Amsterdam?
Amsterdam. So yesterday I was talking to a very educated a parent who's sending his son, who have done he has learned A1 A2 for French. So for him the de facto choice is France. And when I challenge him that economy is not doing great, still, so he was like, yes, even the economy is not doing great because their local people are not willing to work. So that's an advantage of immigrant or a international student, because if their locals are not working, they're aging. So again, back to your thesis of developed countries becoming aging. So Asia for next 20 years will export human capital, and if you are good at your subject, then there will be enough ROI and value for you. So yeah, so that's the thesis we are playing. That's the thesis I'm building. In fact, so my theme is now global mobility. I firmly believe that we are Indians, but before that, as a businessman, I'm more global citizen. So now if the tailwinds is in Dubai, and Dubai give me access to China, and Dubai also give me access to
that's
GCC.
right. For your business, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. No, you want to be
many businesses. Because what India used to be for, or still it is for Western countries and Western universities, I believe North Africa is probably, if 20 years is Indians, next 20 years is Africans. One last question. You been EA to Michael Dell. How was it? Is that stint changing your trajectory, the way you think, the way you approach things? Because that's a very interesting role, right? You are not a founder, but yet you are assisting a founder to make those decisions. Which
no, I didn't assist Michael to make any decisions.
Okay.
It's a
So
very
what is the role?
Yeah, it's a role where basically Michael leverages that role to attract people. Like the two guys before me were both McKinsey partners, right? The role is actually, it's meant you come work with him for 6 months to 12 months, but you find an operating role. Actually, the appeal of the role is like it's a fast way for somebody in consulting, senior person in consulting, to actually get into a line role and run a big business. So that's sort of the primary appeal of it. You get to pick your own projects, like you get to work on whatever is interesting to you that Michael maybe thinks is okay to is important for the company, right? So yeah, I mean, look, I think first of all, he's a phenomenal entrepreneur, right? I think the big thing I learned from Michael is when it comes to execution, you just can't say no.
Wow.
Just gotta get it done. Period. Just get it done.
Wow.
Whatever it takes, just get it done. Just get it done. Just keep at it. Just get it done. And that's a really good.
On that note, thank you, Rajan. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Whoa, what episode it was! Crisp, concise, full of insights and full of data points. And this is what I love to interact with Rajan. He's just not another preacher. He's an actor. He acts, he responds, and he back next big ideas. And what I learned from this podcast and this interaction is just not about materialistic. You can still be driven without having goals, objective, which is materialistic. I mean, it's so hard to believe, but he doesn't own car, was not wearing any fancy watches, and still been so driven. And that drive just can't be replicated if you are not been thinking of impact. You are curious, he's genuinely curious, and trust me, from the bottom of my heart, I'm saying that once you are that curious, you're always learning, you're a learning machine, then no one can stop you. No one can stop you. It might take 10 years, it might take 20 years, but as he mentioned, and we also been reading that the first 10 years is the hardest. The second years is you will see lots of outcome of your input and your efforts. But if you are put for 20, 30, 40 years, you can also be a next Warren Buffett. You can also be a next Elon Musk.